August 15. The descriptive term fighter is something like a racehorse or wolfhound or draft horse, a breed of animal. We approach the front line, the division is stretched out along the trenches. As always, confusion. We run, then wait for something. It's relatively quiet. Only once did a shell explode on the road. We took cover in a crater. An Uzbek soldier's rifle butt was split open. The hole is bigger than a 5-ruble coin. Too bad it wasn't in the leg. I could have gone home to my wife, he complained. At the bottom of the crater is a helmet. I kicked it. It's heavy. Half a skull inside, probably from last year. We move on. The trenches converge under a small railway bridge. From there's only one way, into the inferno. The trench is cramped. Wounded soldiers crawl towards us, bloodied and dirty, with yellowish-gray faces, cracked lips, and feverishly shining eyes, groaning, moaning, swearing. The trench is narrow, and to pass each other, we have to drag the stretchers between the legs of those moving forward. How long do we have left to live? They say we'll go into battle right away. The previous division lasted only 2 hours. It's hitting. The bastards are hitting hard, the wounded reply to our questions. From the bridge, we can't pull the gun with horses. It's too dangerous. They could be killed. We climb out of the trench and harness ourselves. The ground is bumpy, crater after crater. It's hard. Our hearing is strained and painfully catches every rustle. There! It's coming! We roll head over heels into the trench, deeper, lower, into a pit, our hands in something sticky. The roar of an explosion, earth falls. It misses us. We get up. The pit is a latrine. August 16. At night, we dug into the ground not far from the Germans. We sit in holes. It's impossible to get out and stand up. You'll be killed. It seems the wind is made of shrapnel. To occupy ourselves and forget, we play a game we just invented. 2 of us stick rifles out of the hole with the butt up. Whoever gets broken first wins. These rifles were left from previous attacks. Lying on the ground, broken, rusty, no longer usable. We guarded our weapons like the apple of our eye, wrapping the bolt in a foot wrap to protect it from the clouds of dust raised during artillery fire. This weapon is the guarantee of our life in the inevitable encounter with the enemy. The cannon was destroyed. The barrel is bent like a hook. At noon, we go with the package to the rear, 3 of us. First crawling like snakes to the trench, then running further. 100, 200, 300 meters, legs barely move. Breathing with wheezing and whistling, we can't stop. Those who try to rest now lie on both sides of the trench, and blood in thick black streams flows down the clay walls, accumulating in sticky puddles at the bottom. The shelling begins. The Germans must have noticed us and are firing from light mortars with amazing accuracy. Explosions get closer and closer. The roar tears at our eardrums. I fall and press myself into a niche in the trench wall. Explosions very close, seemingly right above my head. A mine hits the parapet and showering me with clumps of earth, plops down next to me. It rolls some distance on the inclined plane and freezes about 50 centimeters from my nose. My hair stands on end, shivers round down my spine. As if enchanted, I stare at this beautiful toy, painted in bright red and yellow, gleaming with transparent plastic nose. It's about to explode. 1 second, another, a minute. It didn't explode. Rarely does anyone get so lucky. I bypass it as far as possible and catch up with my comrades. We run further, a crossroads of trenches. From a pit, a frightened voice. Run, run, faster! This area is under fire! Even further. We're exhausting ourselves, slowing down. In the trench, a corpse without legs, with red stumps instead of knees. Long hair, familiar face. Oh, why? It's the sniper from the neighboring company. The one who sang in the amateur performances, eh? The one in front throws out while running and jumps over the body. There's no time to linger. I jump too. My foot slips on the clay. I fall on the corpse. Air hisses out through clenched teeth, and bloody bubbles inflate from the nose drills. We go back. We'll have a new cannon. It's getting dark, quiet. Occasionally, anti-tank shells whiz by with a growl, ricocheting off the ground. Probably tanks are operating on the front line, but they're still far away, and here we can walk at full height. There are 3 of us. An older soldier in the middle, me, and a young guy recently arrived from the rear on the sides. He's not used to it yet and can't hide his fear. Suddenly, an unexpected roar, some kind of a slap. Face and chest are splattered with something warm and wet. I fall instinctively. All is quiet. I wipe my eyes. Hands and shirt are covered in blood. Our old man lies on the ground. His skull is cleanly cut off by a shell. Brain and blood are splattered around. The young guy stands and stares down blankly, mechanically shaking off the gray-yellow mass from his sleeve. Then he starts hiccuping. I take the dead man's documents and lead the young guy by the arm further. He's probably having a fit. Handed him over to the medic. At the crossroads of trenches, a dozen corpses. They sat down to rest, not knowing that a German gun was aimed at them. One shot tore them all to shreds. August 18. Haven't slept since the 14th. We're still sitting in the same holes. We buried the new cannon deeper than the previous one, and so far it's intact. A day ago, one of our own shells flew in from the rear and exploded 5 steps away from us. Good thing we were in the hole. We got off with bruises. The explosion threw an ammunition box at us, which rolled over some backs. The shell unnerved a corpse, still fresh. Today it's warming in the sun and starting to smell. There are whole layers here in the ground. At a depth of 1.5 to 2 meters, you can find cartridges, weapons, clothes, old felt boots. Everything is mixed up. Ahead in no man's land, about 40 tanks. Some are rusty, burned out. Others are still intact but immobile. The Germans are shooting them with heavy mortars. Overshoot, undershoot, overshoot again. Boom! A multi-ton tank shatters to pieces. How terrible for the tank crew. After all, they're not allowed to leave a damaged vehicle. Tank units have composed a song about this called The Tanker's Anthem. Once I was summoned by the special department. What are you doing here? Didn't you burn with your tank? And I tell them, next time I'll definitely burn. One tank stands close to us, facing our trenches. It was returning from an attack when it was hit. Around its turret are wrapped human intestines, remains of the infantry that rode it into battle. The shells meant by the Germans for this tank are flying at us. We press deeper into the ground. It's quiet now. The lieutenant crawls away, and a minute later returns pale, dragging his leg. I cut open his boot. Below the knee, about 6 small holes. I bandage it. He goes to the rear. Goodbye, he got off lucky. However, I have a vague doubt Such wounds don't come from shells. I crawl into the crater where the lieutenant went, and what do I find? At the bottom lies a grenade ring with a wire, self-inflicted wound. I take the evidence and throw it into the water at the bottom of the neighboring crater. The lieutenant is a very good guy, and a hero too. He received a medal for repelling a tank attack in July of 1941 at the border. He stood his ground when everyone else ran away. That means something. His current breakdown isn't accidental. The day before, he ran into a drunk major in the trench who ordered him to crawl to the German pillbox and throw grenades at it. An unknown senior sergeant who happened to be there tried to object, saying he was following others' orders. The enraged major, without thinking, shot him dead. The lieutenant crawled to the pillbox, threw grenades that did no harm to the concrete walls, and miraculously crawled back. He returned to us with trembling eyes, and his shirt was white with salt that had come out. The pointless risk threw the lieutenant off balance and led to self-mutilation. Of our division, only a number, cooks, surgeons and us near the cannon remain. Soon it will be our turn. The porridge again has shrapnel. When the food carrier crawls, the thermos on his back gets pierced. I'm thirsty and my stomach hurts. At night I crept twice for water to a nearby crater. With pleasure, I drank thick brown water like coffee, smelling of toluene and something else. But when I decided to drink in the morning, I saw a black, twisted hand sticking out of the crater. The shirt and pants have become like thick cardboard, crusted with blood and dirt. On the knees and elbows, holes to bare skin from crawling. I threw away the helmet. Few wear them here, but many lie around everywhere. This item of soldier's attire is used for completely different purposes. We usually defecate in the helmet, then throw it over the trench parapet, and the blast wave throws everything back onto our heads. The corpse stinks unbearably. There are many of them around here, old and new. Some have dried to blackness, heads like mummies with gleaming teeth. Others are swollen, as if ready to burst. They lie in different poses. Some inexperienced soldiers dug shelters in the sandy walls of the trench, and the earth, collapsing from a nearby explosion, crushed them. So they lie, curled up, as if sleeping, under a thick layer of sand. A picture reminiscent of a grave in cross-section. In the trench, here and there parts of bodies trampled into the clay stick out. A back here, a flattened face there, a hand, brown, the color of earth. We walk right over them.